Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks here to bring you your Fab 2.0 update while I crack this box of Uprising. Still love this product, still love opening this product. Cannot wait to see how this develops over the long term. Obviously, that's part of what this series is about, but also just seeing how it plays out with the like the next set, the supplemental sets, things of that nature. I think will be fascinating and exciting all at the same time. So let's dive into the Fab updates real quick. It's a little early to say they've done it and they've knocked it out of the park with 2.0, but it definitely is shaping up that way and it feels that way. There's a couple areas where I imagine some people want some improvement, but there's always room for improvement. This is a vast improvement over the past iterations of First and Unlimited, particularly with the size of the market we're facing. Obviously, First and Unlimited was very good in the beginning, but became challenging with the size of the growth of the company in the game. But let's dive into it. Very cool stuff going on with the general prices. Cards are becoming affordable, including legendaries that are needed. Think Icelanders, Coronet Peak, and the Ghostly Touch, which I actually think is a pretty good playable in both Dromai. Maybe not in Prism. I couldn't say on Prism, but I think it's good in Dromai. Not in every situation, but a good situation. Obviously, Crown of Providence is in high demand, so it's super expensive for a nice little cold foil there, Heatwave. That's gorgeous, man. Crown of Providence is at $146. I do think this price for the Rainbow Foil will come down over time. You have to think about it. We're going to have this product 4 months between release of this and Dynasty, right? So 4 months until the next set. And this will be draftable for 8 months, give or take. And, we don't know exact dates on the next sets. But about a set every 4 months, give or take. That's the general pattern. And so 8 months until the next draftable set. And I bet, if we're being logical and taking a step back and thinking about it, we'll have it for an additional 8 months until the following draftable set comes out. Because think about it. Do you really think there's only going to be one draftable set on the shelves at LGS's? I don't. I think there will be multiple. Just like there are now, right? So while it may be out of print, I think there will be plenty of stock. I could be wrong on this, but generally speaking, at least 8 months, maybe 16 months of this should be available. Maybe split the difference between 8 to 16 and call it, I don't know, 12 maybe. Yeah, why not? Call it 12 months. So we'll have a year of this, and as these are opened and continue to be supplied, the things that are common and not needed in multiples and by growth of the market base demand side, they're all going to come down. Now, that means rainbow foils, that means the playables. The cold foils, on the other hand, will likely continue to have an upward pressure, one, because they do seem to be a lot rarer, especially some of these more sought-after ones. I don't think I've heard of anyone getting, in my group, a Crown of Providence cold foil, maybe one. I've heard of plenty of Ghostly Touches. I've heard of the Shukos. I've even heard of the Fable, honestly, in my group. But there's some things that in the cold foil just seems like they're harder to get. I don't know if that's just a regional difference thing, because people were saying there's clustering. Maybe that's the case. Point being that the market will work itself out, and I think the cold foils will remain in high demand. That's such a nice looking card, that Red Hot. I think that's just how it's going to go, because they are collectible. Collectible types will try to collect them, and that will maintain an upward pressure based on demand. Generally speaking, supply will increase over time, and these prices should come down. Especially for the things that are played, even though they're cold foil collectibles, they're playable. It's interesting. You have a weird dynamic here where the prices of cold foils are holding up, generally speaking. They some of them, like Coronet Peak, has come down and flatlined, but is still at a premium, quite a decent premium to the rainbow foil version. But then something like Crown of Providence has just gone up and to the right, and its premium is outpacing the rainbow foil, so the demand side, what we'd call the player base demand. is going is basically keeping the price steadily upward for the rainbow foil, but the cold foil is moving up faster. So it's fascinating to see. Generally speaking, things are coming down in price. Rashukos are now at 80. Ghostly Touch at 34, right? And this is for the rainbow foils. Coronet Peak 50. Flame Scale Furnace is still at 100, and then Crown is at 146. And get this, the Fable's at 95. So you have two pieces of gear. This just tells you it's a player's playable market, because the Fable is, by math, should be rarer than the rainbow foil of the generic and draconic equipment, but they are at a higher price because people want to play with them. You see what I'm saying? So despite the supply being lower, the demand side is making up the price variance, and that means that's where the price premium is coming in versus the rarity factor. So very interesting stuff. Ironically or interestingly, the Fable cold foil is still holding up at over $300. It has come down a little bit, but it's mostly flat and staying there. And then another piece of evidence is the Race Face is still $20, which is just a playable card, not even the rainbow foil one. So just really good playable card. It's going to stay up in price for a while, but it's only $20, so it's not $90. It's not Command and Conquer. Think about that. And ultimately, I think everything will come down, particularly in the playable side. The collectible side, we'll see how many collectors are still buying collectibles. I know I am. And that's an important factor to consider, is both the supply and demand side and how these play out. But overall, box prices are $80, cases are $320. We're looking good. Most things are affordable. Most people can get most things, or crack boxes or packs or whatever to get them. And overall, pretty cool that the collectibles are holding up in price. So I like it. I think it's a bit early to say they knocked it out of the park completely, but I'm feeling good about it. I like the way it's going. Super excited to see how supplemental goes. But just thinking about it, because we're only a month in. If we have this for 8 months, will the cold foils hold up? Like, there are questions. Like, we don't know yet, and we won't know for a little bit. So let's give it some time. But so far, so good. Looking really good. Really positive on this. I like the changes. All right. So now onto the topic of the week. This is a story about how my life got flipped. Okay, so sorry about that. No, this is a story. Philadelphia. This is a story about fear of missing out, greed of markets, greed of collectors, greed of sellers, I don't know, and general market volatility, and a bit of a economics lesson that goes into reality here. So, you guys know I've been following the Marvel Dragons very closely. I talk about it every week. I have been very interested to see how the price changes happen. Nice cold foil Frost-X, love it. And because I was watching it so closely, I was seeing what was happening, and I started to get a little worried. I think I even mentioned it last week. The prices kept going up, and the number of listings kept going down. And frankly, I took a step back, and I looked at it, and I said, I want to redo my shelf and work on my shelf and make it look nice, and get rid of the Everfest and Aria stuff that I had up there, and put up some dragons and kind of create a piece of art. And I took a step back and I looked at it and I said, look, every year, spring and fall, I buy enough plants to put in my yard to make it look nice, because I enjoy seeing a nice looking yard. And I spend more money on that than I would to buy all of the Marvel Dragons at the prices they were. So I bought them. I bought a bunch of the little ones, not all of them. I think just the cheap ones. And then I bought the Majestic ones, Tomotai, Optimi, and Dominia. Because that price kept going up and the listings kept going down. There's only like 4 left, something like that. So I bought them, got buys in it. I call it like 150. I think somewhere like 120, 130, something like that. I don't remember exactly. Maybe 160 at the highest. So I got to buy in for each of them. Waiting a couple days, no tracking number. Wait another day or two, no tracking number. Getting nervous. The listings keep going up in price. Number keeps going down. And the other day, there was 3 left. The price I think was 170 or 80, something like that for Tumultai. I use it as kind of the baseline. And 3 Optimi left. I think maybe 5 or 4 Dominia. At this point, I got my tracking number for Dominia. I still didn't have the tracking number for Tumultai or Optimi. And if you've listened to my content before, you know I've been screwed because I bought the Rainbow Foil Eye of Ophidia for a deck I needed. This is going into, it was before Pro Tour. Some competitive events were coming up. Maybe it was our Road to Pro Tour or whatever that invite event was, because I did go to that. But anyways, I needed an Eye of Ophidia, so I went to buy it. And sure enough, within 24 hours, you know how my luck goes, they announced the out of print, of Arc and Unlimited, and everything went nuts that day. And the vendor that I bought the Eye of Ophidia from canceled my order, said sorry, we can't find it. Sure enough, it was back up there listed $100 more, or whatever it was, and the next listing was like $100 more too. So basically, I've been screwed by sellers in the past. Not to say it's always like this, but just when markets are volatile, people act in their self-interests. I don't really hold it against them, other than that I was pissed I had to pay $100 more to get the card I already paid for. But it was a fear factor. This still is look great. It was a fear factor that was in the back of my mind as I'm watching these prices go up and the listings go down and not seeing my tracking number. So I'm freaking out a little bit. And I want to get this. I want to decorate my shelf. Granted, I could wait a few months if I had to, but part of it is the nostalgia, right? I have memories that are tied to specific cards from Magic in my childhood. Like, I can tell you what grade I was in and where I was and who I was playing the cards with and that sort of thing. Like, it brings memories back to have these visual cues. And just sit back and relax. I'm going to chatter here, as we've done every time now. So I want these on my shelf to be kind of a visual marker of this period of Fab, right? This period of the transformation into Dragons and Allies, of Pro Tour 2, of the Road to Nationals season having the best meta I've ever seen, of the retirement of Prism, coming up. All these things are all happening right now, and if I have these on my shelf when I walk into my office every day, it's a visual reminder, right? It's a cue. It's a link, so that 3 years from now, when I'm flipping through my cards or my binder or whatever, and I see that Tumultai, I'll be like, oh, I remember that. We weren't even a year old. Tommy's Top Picks. We just started, and we went to that Pro Tour, and then it was the next Pro Tour was just happening, and I'm gonna have these memories tied to these visuals. And so for me, it was like buying a piece of art, buying something that I wanted because I wanted it, not as an investment. And so I was getting worried that I wasn't going to, because again, the prices kept going up, and I'm worried that these vendors were going to cancel on me and then relist them, or they all get sold out and no one's listing them because everyone wants to keep them. So I bought them. I bought the rest of them, and basically said to myself, whichever one gives me a tracking number first, I'll keep. The other ones I'll cancel and just deal with it, right? So I bought 3 more Tumultais, 3 more Optimi, because they were the last ones available. So I had orders for 4 each in. At this point, I did not buy Dominia at all, because I did get a tracking number that evening, just as I was thinking about doing this for Dominia. So I just did it. I just bought them. I bought all of them. It was about $1,400, so not that much. When you consider like the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a crazy amount of money, and that meant there were 0 listings of the 2 big dragons on TCG Player. And so, of course, within an hour, probably even 10 minutes, I actually wasn't paying close attention at that point, we had another listing up for Tumultai at like 500, and another listing for Optimi at like 500, 400, something like that, a lot. And so I see this, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess there's more out there than I thought. No big deal. Still waiting because I could still get screwed, especially now that the prices are listed way higher. You know, now I'm like, oh God, are all four of them going to cancel? Half of them going to cancel? Any of them going to cancel? I don't know. So I'm fretting about this. And within like 12 hours, the listings were up there. I think there was even more listing. I think it was 4 or 5 at that point within like 12 hours of the next day. There was more listings, and then within like 48 hours, the prices came down. Now, here's the part that I'm upset. I'm sad. I'm apologetic for. As a result of this, obviously, it shook the markets. Other people were talking about it. The other dragons all shot up in price, and I apologize if you were one of the people that bought on the spike thinking they're all running out or something. It was not an intended buyout. It was not to spike the price. It was not an investment move. It was a move to try to ensure that I got one and wasn't screwed out of it by a vendor. And I don't feel bad for the vendors. I mean, I apologize if it did cause any of the vendors any heartache or trouble. I doubt it. As I've said before, I sell cards on TCG Player myself, and it has not caused any problems for me. If there's a cancel, you push a button, it's a refund. There's no fees. There's no negatives. There's nothing that comes as a problem from it. It's relatively easy from the seller side. So I don't think they had any heartburn. In fact, some of them were probably pretty happy because I bought them at lower prices than were currently listed when I canceled. So they probably looked at it as like, oh, good, he canceled this 160 order and I can relist it for 250, right? Or whatever it was, right? So they were probably excited. So I hope it didn't cause them any problems. I'm not trying to cause problems for people or the market. I was not trying to manipulate the market. I did get a little excited when the prices jumped so fast. I was like, oh, maybe these will be worth more by the time I get them. That's definitely not the case. Here we are. I don't know how many days later, a couple days later, and prices are right back where they were, except happily, which is good for the market, I think, there's 18 listings of Tumultai instead of 3. There's 20 listings of Optimi instead of 3. There's 15 listings of Dominia instead of, I don't know, 5 or 6, however many there were. There's a lot more listings of actually all the dragons, I think. I don't have a full record of everything because I wasn't like tracking the data. Again, this wasn't an investment decision. It was an art buying decision. But the reality is that the prices jumped across the board, and I feel bad if anyone got caught in the spike or whatever. Like, I apologize. I did not touch any of the other dragons for this. I just bought the Tumultais and the Optimi to make sure I got one. I did end up getting one. I did end up getting caught with probably the most expensive Tumultai sale on TCG Player, which, you know, that's the consequences of doing what I did, and I'm okay with that, having an extra Tumultai that costs way too much. I really don't care. You know, I'm happy to have it. It's, again, not an investment thing. I was trying to make sure I got it, and basically they shipped it to me before I could cancel the second one, and that's fine. I take full responsibility for that. That was the game. That was what I was trying to make sure I got them. So I overpaid for one Tumultai. Big deal. I am apologetic for any impact it had on other players that were trying to get the Marvels or something else and ended up paying way more than they should have, because all the other dragons spiked to like $50 to $70 within the day, and I did not see that coming. And the prices have recovered. They're all back down to pretty much where they were before, maybe 5 to 10% up. And there's a lot more listings, so it's a lot healthier of a market, but at the same time, it did cause like a ripple effect, and it was not my intention, and I apologize for that if it impacted anyone in a negative way. Definitely not what I was going for. It even screwed me over because, like I said, I bought some of the cheaper dragons, but I hadn't bought all of them yet, and I wanted to buy them for my shelf. Well, I went to go do that the next day, and I couldn't because they all doubled in price. Some of them were like $70, and I was like, I'm not paying that much. They were like $30 yesterday. Crap, what did I do? So it's a lesson in fear. I could have waited and not done that. I could have been patient. I was a little freaked out. I shouldn't have been. It's a lesson in greed. Those people that were maybe imagining quick tendies and flipping and all that stuff, buying them, rampantly, because there were definitely sales in the other dragons, like a lot of them. I looked at the data afterwards. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Again, I apologize if you got caught with that. it's one of those things. It's an interesting thing that $1,400 could have that much of a ripple effect. That is not a lot of money when it comes to collectors and that sort of thing. So such a simple buyout. I mean, it wasn't a buyout by intention. That wasn't the goal, but that is what ended up acting out throughout the market, and it caused a ripple effect. And it's all back to normal now. Anyone who took a step back and thought about it and was like, there's months of time for this from like an investment standpoint, anyone that was thinking investor wise, would have realized this would be a foolish time to do a buyout. It would be a foolish time to do like quick flip kind of moves in the market. We have tons of product for months and months and months to continue to come. So I fully expect that these values will continue to drop. Like, I imagine you'll be able to get the dragons all for half the price rate that they are right now at some point, like 8 to 16 months in the future. Now, granted, by that point, I'll be putting the next set on my shelf. You see what I'm saying? That's why I went ahead and did it for the Marvels instead of waiting. I will wait 8 to 16 months to buy the cold foil legendaries that I need. With the exception of the Cornet Peak, I did just buy that because I'm playing Icelander, so I wanted that for my deck. But the other ones, the ones I don't intend to play, I'm just going to use the rainbow foils that I pull, and forget about it until after, and then I'll do the collectibles thing, like I said, 8 to 16 months, which is the smart move from an investment collection standpoint, and I've been saying it the whole time. Just with the dragons, I realized that I really wanted the art on the shelf. And part of that was inspired by our patron, who sent me some awesome old school Magic cards, and I redid my Magic side of the shelf. I have a Magic side. Like I said, at some point I will show you this stuff. I'll give you a video tour of my shelf and what I'm doing with it. But the reality is that, I did the Magic side, and that's kind of what got me thinking about this, is like the nostalgic art. I was looking at these old cards and remembering the history of it, and I was like, I need to do that with Fab. I need to do that with these dragons, and that's where it all started. Again, apologize if anyone got caught out or made, bad buys. I think the data was there to show that it was a bad time to jump in, even though it looked like it was a good time because the market's sort of going insane. I apologize for my part in that. I obviously did not put the listings up that were 500. I did not put I did not keep my listings down when there was 18, 16 available and only 3 were on market. Clearly some people were doing that, probably to keep it looking slim, or maybe it wasn't coordinated. Maybe it just happened to be that way. It's very possible. Clearly there's plenty available and at reasonable prices, and I imagine that will continue to increase. So ultimately it led to a good thing for the market, healthier situation for the market, but that's not what I was doing. I wasn't trying to manipulate the market at all. I was just trying to make sure that I got it, and I got screwed on it. So it's like, if it was me trying to take advantage of the market, I sure didn't do that right. So anyways, a little bit of a tax there on me paying for an extra Tumulti. Like I said, if you look at TCG Player, I think I am that sale, the most expensive one, the 240. I believe that was that's mine. And so that will probably be the most expensive Tumulti ever bought, until like years from now, obviously. And so that's the cost of this. So I bear that cost. I'm happy to do it. Mostly I'm more worried about having messed up anyone out there that, thought they were going to make quick tendies and, put what little money they had into the few dragons they could afford. And I did not want to have that kind of impact. And so, again, I apologize for that part of it. Interesting case study in how these tiny markets can be moved so easily, with so little money and so little product. So just be aware when you see price spikes, when you see hype bubbles, when you see people freaking out, take a step back, breathe, think about it realistically. How long is this set really going to be out? How long can you expect it to be on shelves? And then kind of sit back and do the mental math on what you think that means as far as volume of opening and product listings and how long you have. Because most of the time, patience is capital's best friend. Being patient is something you can afford to do when you have the capital to invest. So if you think that way, you will avoid being scammed by hype, fear, FOMO, market volatility, and manipulation. Again, this was not market manipulation, but some people that doubled all the prices of the smaller dragons, that kind of was. I'm assuming they doubled it on the market as opposed to the lower ones being bought up, like other buyouts happening. I did not look at it closely enough to know whether there's a bunch of buyouts. Anyways, that's it for now. Again, I apologize. I hope this was informative, very different than the last one. I think I jumped the shark with the quantum thing, so sorry about that. For those of you that heard the whole thing, I will try to avoid things like that in the future. We'll talk about economics and fun stuff like that. This was an interesting case study, totally not intentional, but interesting to talk about all the same. Hope you're out there having fun, cracking packs, and playing good games. If you want to support us on Patreon, go ahead and check the link in the description below. Otherwise, I hope you guys are having a good one, and I will see you next time.